Joanna the slave, while nurturing another's child, a hidden tragedy unfolds for her own. In 1863, the laughter rang out, bright and clear, reverberating through the grand halls of the Anderson plantation, as if the world outside had vanished. For Joanna, the devoted mother, it was like a double-edged sword. She knelt, cradling little Margaret, her warm smile masking a heart filled with heartache. "You're so precious, my sweet girl," she whispered, her voice a soothing melody against the backdrop of war. And yet, with each giggle, she felt a deep, hollow ache for her own children, sugar-coated in sweet innocence yet marred by the stark reality of their separation. The Mississippi sun cast a golden glow on the fields outside, magnolias blooming in sweet abundance. But for Joanna, the scent of those flowers only reminded her of home, a place where her own children once played freely, before the cruel hand of fate stripped them away. Her memories surfaced like painful echoes. She could see them clearly, her son, Samuel, bright-eyed and full of promise, and her daughter, Clara, with laughter that could melt the hardest of hearts. They were still out there, somewhere, vulnerable and frightened amidst a war-torn land, their dreams stifled by a merciless system that didn't care who it crushed. As she busied herself with Margaret and the other children, Joanna found solace in their laughter, but dread clawed at her mind, growing heavier by the moment. One evening, as she picked vegetables from the garden, Thomas, her neighbor, limped over, his once strong frame now shadowed by the burdens of battle and debt. "Joanna, you've got a heart that could move mountains," he said, resting against the fence, his voice heavy with concern. "But these are dangerous days. The war is creeping closer." His words hung in the thick air, and Joanna nodded, silence filling the space between them. She felt a connection with him, both a soldier and a neighbor, wrestling with the same questions of morality and loyalty. Just then, a terrified breath escaped her lips, her heart raced. She had overheard whispers of a raid targeting her family's home, a sickening twist in the tide of turmoil. Before she could process that thought, she was back with little Margaret, wrapping the child in her arms, her heart fluttering with the overwhelming need to protect. But standing here, she wasn't just a caregiver. She was a mother torn apart, caught between the sweet, innocent lives before her and the tragic fate of her own children. She felt flames of anger and injustice arise, burning within her chest. It was time to act. If she remained just a caretaker, might she lose her own family forever? But how could she leave these kids who had become her light? Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Joanna's determined gaze locked onto the sunset, the swirling colors a reflection of her turmoil. The choice loomed like a dark cloud, her duty as a caretaker or her instinct as a mother. With a heart beating like a war drum, she whispered a silent promise to her children she would not let them slip through her fingers. In a moment of courage that sparkled like the morning dew, she felt the embers of resistance stirring within her. Change was coming, not just for her family, but for a community strangled by injustice. As night fell over the plantation, uncertainty loomed like an impending storm, leaving readers on the edge of anticipation, their hearts aching for Joanna's next move. Would she choose to shatter the chains that bound her people, or would fear snuff out the fire of hope flickering within? Joanna stared into the darkness enveloping the plantation, her breath coming in quick bursts. The stars twinkled above, but instead of bringing her peace, they only deepened her sense of loss. Time felt like a relentless river, sweeping away moments that should have been filled with laughter and love from her children, now caught somewhere in the chaos of war. She could hear the distant sounds of the plantation settling for the night, the creaks of the wooden beams and soft rustle of the wind through the cotton. Yet in her heart, Joanna felt an urgent pull to act. Every second spent in fear was another second away from her children. Summoning the courage that had laid dormant inside her for too long, she made a quiet vow: tomorrow, she would search for them. As sleep evaded her, Joanna's mind floated between hope and despair. How could she navigate this treacherous world? Friends had whispered of safe passages to find loved ones. Some spoke of hiding places, while others shared hushed tales of freedom. But Joanna knew that the chances were slim. Each path she might take could lead either to her children's embrace or deeper into danger. Morning came with a heavy mist, its thick shroud wrapping around the plantation like a funeral veil. She rose before the sun, her heart pounding. She wrapped little Margaret in a light shawl and quietly left the other sleeping children in the care of a trusted neighbor, a woman with a kind heart who understood a mother's plight. Joanna felt a flurry of emotions as she slipped away, part anxiety, part determination. "Be safe, Joanna," the woman whispered, her voice barely louder than the rustle of the leaves. Joanna nodded, emotions bubbling up inside her. The woman's understanding comforted her, even if just a little. As she crossed into the woods that bordered the plantation, each step felt monumental. The nearly silent woods were alive with hidden rhythms, the thrumming of cicadas and the gentle tug of the breeze. But to Joanna, it felt like walking on the edge of a knife. What if they were close? What if she could find them today? The deeper she ventured into the thicket, the bolder her heart grew. Memories of Samuel and Clara cheered her on like a chorus in her mind. She could almost hear them saying, "We'll find our way, Mama." The thought was her lifeline. But as the day wore on, obstacles appeared. The sounds of battle echoed in the distance, screams and the crack of gunfire pulling at her heartstrings. With every sound, her determination wavered, bursting like fragile glass. She thought of little Margaret, of the children she had left behind, and fear clawed at her throat. Was it safe to continue? Then, out of the corner of her eye, she caught a fleeting glimpse of a figure darting through the trees. Her heart leaped, and with a rush of adrenaline, she called out, "Samuel! Clara!" The figure paused, turning with startled eyes, but it wasn't he them. Instead, it was a young soldier, his face marked by fear and fatigue. "Who goes there?" he called, his hand gripping a rifle tightly. In that moment, Joanna's heart sank, tangled in uncertainty. Would he help her, or would he send her running back to the shadows? The soldier's gaze swept across her, and she saw a flicker of recognition in his weary eyes. Is he here to fight for freedom or suppress it? And then it hit her, what if he knew something about her children? Hope flared within her once more, brighter than before. "Please, I need your help," she pleaded, stepping closer, her voice trembling. Would this be the moment that shifted everything? Or would her journey end here, swallowed by fear and doubt? The soldier hesitated, uncertainty flickering across his face. Joanna's heart raced. "I'm looking for my children," she said, desperation thick in her voice. "Have you seen them?" "Samuel and Clara, they were taken during the fighting." He lowered his rifle slightly, the tightness in his posture easing just a bit. "I don't know, ma'am," he replied, glancing down as if searching for the right words in the dirt beneath his boots. "I'm just here to do my duty." "I understand," was all Joanna could manage. The soldier looked young, perhaps barely old enough to have seen the horrors unfolding around them. Those same horrors had stolen her children, and her mind raced with possibilities. "Please," she implored again, stepping closer. "My children were taken. If you know anything, anything at all." Her voice broke, and she felt the weight of her hopelessness pressing down on her. He met her gaze, and for the briefest moment, Joanna saw recognition. He must have lost something too. There was a flicker of empathy, a crack in the soldier's hardened exterior. "There are places," he started reluctantly, "places where families are gathered. Sometimes the soldiers take them, sometimes they just vanish." "Where?" "There's a camp 10 miles from here," he replied, scanning the treetops as if looking for ghosts. "But it's dangerous. You shouldn't go alone." Joanna felt the urgency settle in her bones. "I can't wait. I need them. The soldier sighed, running a hand over his face. Then I'll give you what help I can. It's not safe for you out here, and you'll need to stay hidden. Hope flickered again, fragile and bright. Thank you. But before she could feel the warmth of gratitude, a distant shout broke the silence, echoing through the trees. The soldier's expression shifted to one of panic. They're coming, he muttered, shoulders tightening again as he lifted his rifle to shoulder level. You need to hide. Joanna glanced around frantically, her heart pounding. Where? Follow me, he said, his voice urgent. He motioned for her to follow as he darted into the thick underbrush. Joanna hurried after him, brushing aside branches and leaves. Her mind raced. The idea of being caught here, exposed, consumed her. They moved deeper into the woods, finding refuge behind a massive oak tree, its bark rough and ancient. Joanna pressed herself against it, letting the coolness seep into her skin. She could hear shouting now, closer, the chaos of men calling to one another. Stay quiet, the soldier urged, his face inches from hers. She nodded, but her heart thudded like a war drum, threatening to give them away. As they crouched there, breaths shallow and rapid, Joanna's thoughts turned to her children. What would happen to them if she didn't find them? The soldier's gaze turned to her, intense and searching. If we get through this, I'll help you find them, I promise. His words, filled with sincerity, brought a small measure of comfort. But her fear remained, wrapped tightly around her like a vine, squeezing at her throat. Could she trust him? Out of the corner of her eye, she noticed movement in the distance. Shadows shifting, soldiers marching hard, unyielding. The reality of her situation crashed in on her again, leaving no room for illusions. Stay down, the soldier whispered, his voice barely more than a breath. The weight of the world pressed on Joanna's chest as she leaned against the tree, desperate to stay hidden, desperate to keep her children safe. Hope flickered within her, even as doubt threatened to snuff it out. Would she survive this, and would there still be a chance to embrace her children again? As the soldiers' voices grew louder, Joanna knew she had to act. The soldier's promise echoed in her mind, but what would she sacrifice to keep it? A chill swept through the forest as the voices of the soldiers grew nearer. Joanna's breath quickened, each inhale feeling like a silent scream. She pressed her back harder against the tree, feeling the rough bark dig into her skin, a reminder that this was real, and her life was hanging by a thread. What do we do? She murmured, glancing sideways at the soldier, who had shifted into a position of readiness, tense and alert. He was young, yet so aware of the peril surrounding them. It was clear he had learned survival the hard way. Just wait, he said, scanning their surroundings. They'll pass if we stay quiet. Her heart raced, pounding in her ears like thunder. The soldier's eyes darted toward the approaching voices, searching for shadows that might betray them. They're not just going to walk by, are they? Joanna whispered. She could hardly keep the fear from her voice. No. They'll be searching. There was a gravity in his tone that made her shiver. As the soldiers drew closer, Joanna's mind flickered to Samuel and Clara, her whole world. Where were they? Were they scared? Were they hungry? Her thoughts spiraled, desperately grasping for hope amidst a storm of despair. Then she remembered the soldier's promise he would help her if they made it through this. The thought anchored her, even with doubt creeping in like shadows in the evening light. Could she trust him? Could she risk everything on a stranger's word? Suddenly, the soldiers stopped talking. Joanna could hear footsteps crunching over twigs nearby. Her heart seized. She squeezed her eyes shut, feeling the weight of the world bearing down on her chest. What would happen if they found her? Would they drag her away like they had her children? And then a different voice cut through, sharper and commanding, search the perimeter. We're not leaving any stragglers behind. No. No, the words slipped from Joanna's lips before she could catch them. Panic surged as she clutched the soldier's arm. They can't find me. I can't lose them again. Shoo, he whispered, his eyes stern yet softening. He placed a hand over her clenched fists, reminding her to breathe, to hold on to the moment. Trust me. Just stay calm. Minutes ticked by like hours, each breath feeling heavier than the last. Joanna strained to listen, the weight of silence pressing down as they waited. The voices drifted away, but the soldier remained vigilant, his body tense as he peered into the thinning shadows. They're moving back, he said finally, a hint of relief washing over his face. But we can't stay here. We have to go now. Joanna hesitated, a swell of fear competing with the urgency in his voice. But where? We don't know what lies ahead. I know a way, he urged, his voice firm. Follow me, and keep low. He led her deeper into the woods, where the terrain became rougher, with roots and rocks jutting out. Joanna stumbled, her thoughts racing. As much as she wanted to trust him, doubt lingered. You'd really help me find my children? I swear it. Just stick close to me, he replied, glancing back with determination. But what if they were too late? An unsettling sense of foreboding washed over her. Could her children still be alive? And now, with every step she took in this uncertain journey, the risk felt greater. As they pushed on, the forest began to thin, revealing a glimpse of gray sky. Joanna had to ask, had to know, what if we don't find them? The soldier paused, his gaze steady. Everyone deserves a second chance. We'll get yours. The hope in his words buoyed her spirit, even as shadows loomed closer. A distant call echoed between the trees, nails on a chalkboard a warning. The danger hadn't passed yet, and time was slipping away. And with that realization, Joanna felt something boil up inside her, a fierce determination to take back what had been stolen from her. I will find them. She said, louder than she intended, a promise to herself. But just as that fire ignited, they heard a rustle in the bushes ahead. Get down. The soldier hissed, pulling her close. Joanna's heart plummeted. Was this another soldier? Or worse, a trap? Perhaps there was more at stake than she had ever imagined. The rustling grew louder, branches snapping, the underbrush whispering secrets that twisted Joanna's stomach into knots. She thought of Samuel and Clara, their laughter, their hopes, and in the face of that danger, it felt like a cruel joke. She couldn't lose them. Not now. The soldier knelt beside her, his expression serious. Keep your head down, he whispered, his voice barely above the rustle of leaves. Don't move until I say so. Joanna nodded, clenching her fists to her chest, her breath shallow. The forest around them seemed to hold its breath, every leaf and twig anticipating a sudden movement, an unwelcome discovery. Suddenly, a figure emerged from the brush. A soldier, decked in worn uniform, scanning the area with a keen eye. Joanna held her breath, wishing she could melt into the earth beneath her. She felt the soldier beside her exhale slowly, his tension palpable. Say something, a second soldier called from further back, voice laced with impatience. We can't spend all day playing hide and seek. Just checking, the first soldier replied, stepping further into view. Joanna strained her ears, desperate to hear every word, every signal. Would they sweep through the trees, limbs outstretched, dragging her to an unknown fate? Get over here, then, the second soldier urged. No one is left behind. Let us move. Joanna's heart sank. They couldn't keep hiding. Her life was nothing against a regiment's orders. Just a woman lost in the woods, separate from the most important part of her life. She bit her lip, fighting back tears, thinking of how Clara would cling to her leg, bright-eyed and full of dreams. The young soldier beside her seemed to sense her turmoil, his hand brushing against her back in a gesture of comfort. We have to move. On my count. 1, 2. With that, they lunged forward, the soldier directing Joanna to the thicket of trees beyond them. They raced through the underbrush, low and quick. Twigs cracked beneath their footsteps like the shattered pieces of Joanna's heart. She felt the weight of every moment they crossed, every second counting down toward their uncertain future. But the rustling didn't fade, footsteps pursued them. Joanna glanced back and saw two soldiers breaking through the trees behind them, their faces painted with determination and ignorance. "There they are!" one shouted, voice cutting through the muted air like a blade. Her heart dropped. "They're coming! Keep running!" The young soldier yelled, his grip tightening around Joanna's wrist as they dashed forward, weaving through the trunks with a speed that surprised her. She could feel the air burning in her lungs, could barely think, only move as fear surged within her, urging her to escape. Finally, they reached a clearing, the light shining fiercely through the trees. Joanna stumbled, almost losing her footing. The soldier caught her before she could fall. "Just a little further," he said breathlessly. "We can make it." But as they neared the other side, Joanna saw a set of figures waiting. Men gathered at the border, more soldiers. Her stomach dropped. Would they be outnumbered? Could they fight their way out? "What do we do?" she gasped, panic clawing at her throat. The soldier's grip on her tightened even further, his jaw set with resolve. "We don't let fear dictate our future. You can't give up now." "I can't," she breathed, the sparks of determination racing through her warmth turning cold. "What if they have my children?" He turned to her, surprise flickering in his eyes. "Then we'll find them. But we can't stop now." With that, he charged forward into the patch of light, Joanna following closely behind him, her heart a whirlwind of hope and dread. "Keep moving!" he yelled, sprinting toward the figures ahead. With every step, she felt the echo of her children's laughter, a distant melody inspiring her to push through. And then, just when Joanna thought salvation was within reach, one of the soldiers turned, leveling his rifle straight at them. "Stop right there!" he shouted. Time seemed to freeze as Joanna's pulse raced, caught between the fight for freedom and the possibility of losing everything once again. What would she do now? Was there a place left to run? The answer seemed to vanish as the soldier prepared to fire. The world shifted, ticking slowly as Joanna's heart drummed in her ears. The soldier with the rifle stood like a mountain, immovable and fierce. Her body felt heavy, rooted to the ground, yet her mind raced with desperate thoughts. "I can't lose them," she whispered, more to herself than anyone else, the fear clawing at her throat like a living thing. The young soldier beside her tensed. "Stay behind me," he ordered, positioning himself as a shield, his eyes locked on the rifleman. Joanna could see the determination coursing through him, a well of strength she wished she could tap into. "Let her go." The soldier with the rifle barked, his voice ruthless and sure, echoing through the clearing with a chilling authority. "This isn't your fight." Her breath hitched. He didn't understand. It was always her fight. Every heartbeat was a battle, every breath a reminder of what was at stake. She could see Clara's smiling face, her tiny hands reaching for Joanna, the hope gleaming in her innocent eyes. "We need to go," the soldier beside her urged, his voice rising above the tension. "This isn't worth it." "Shut up!" the rifleman yelled, his face turning red with anger. Joanna's heart sank lower. There was no path left to retreat, no other option. "Please." Joanna found herself stepping forward, trembling but unyielding. "My children, they are out there." That moment, like a breath of wind, caught the soldier off guard. His grip on the rifle wavered, confusion flickering across his face. That flicker of humanity was all it took. The young soldier seized the moment, lunging forward, tackling the armed man to the ground. A shot rang out, echoing through the clearing like thunder, and Joanna's heart stopped. She barely registered the ensuing chaos, her instincts kicking in to surge into action. "Go, Joanna! Run!" the young soldier shouted, wrestling for control of the rifle, desperation fueling his strength. She was frozen for an agonizing second, horror curling in her stomach, but her feet moved before she could think. She bolted into the trees, dodging the chaos behind her. Each branch that whipped by felt like it clipped her spirit, but she pressed on, adrenaline propelling her forward. She pictured Samuel's face, his kind eyes full of warmth, his laughter a balm to her soul, and it spurred her to run faster. The forest closed in around her, but her heart was a beacon, guiding her deeper through the thick underbrush. She could hear the sounds of struggle fading behind her, but she knew they wouldn't last. She couldn't think more than a heartbeat ahead, just the pounding of her feet, the rustle of leaves. Emerging into another clearing, Joanna skidded to a halt, her breath caught tight in her throat as she scanned the horizon. Where could she go? A gut-wrenching thought crept in: what if she never saw Clara and Samuel again? The thought was a dagger, twisting in her heart. She couldn't allow fear to win. They needed her. She had to find them. Just as hope flickered, a voice drifted through the air around her, a familiar laugh, soft and sweet. Clara. It was real. It had to be. With renewed determination, Joanna sprinted toward the sound, pushing through thorny branches, each step taking her closer to the promise of her children. The forest embraced her, hiding her yet urging her on, a silent ally in her desperate quest. But as she moved, a voice called back to her, a soldier's voice, sharp and familiar. You can't hide forever. Joanna's heart fluttered in her chest. Was it too late? Would she have to stop running? Determined to keep her family together, she whispered to herself as mantra, I will find you, I will not give up. The laughter faded to a haunting echo, leaving her with nothing but uncertainty. What awaited her ahead? She took a deep breath, ready to face whatever came. Could she reclaim her family, or would time betray her once more? The shadows around Joanna felt alive, the trees whispering secrets of the forest as she navigated through the thick undergrowth. The laughter that once felt like a lifeline now slipped further away, an echo pulling her deeper into dread. She pushed herself harder, propelling through the branches that clawed at her like the very hands of despair. Clara. Samuel. She called out, the desperation in her voice piercing the stillness. Each word hung in the air, expecting a reply that never came. Fear churned in her belly. What if they were lost, hiding from the chaos she had just escaped? The rustling leaves seemed to mock her, growing into a cacophony of what-ifs, each more haunting than the last. She stumbled, regaining her footing just in time to avoid hitting the ground, her body demanding rest while her heart screamed for action. Her breath came in ragged gasps, each one feeling like a reminder of the looming danger. Suddenly, a thought pierced the fog of despair: Clara and Samuel could be in more danger than she dared imagine. The sound of the struggle she'd left behind could still resonate in the air. A chill crept into her bones as she considered how fragile their safety could be. With a steely resolve, Joanna pressed on, pushing through the exhaustion threatening to close in around her. The laughter flickered again in her memory, it was a warm beacon that filled her with strength. She moved towards the sound, the images of her children's smiles urged her forward. But then came another rustle, a twig snapping close by. Joanna froze, her heart pounding violently. The voice from the soldier echoed in her mind, you can't hide forever. It was a reminder of the soldier left behind and the risk of being caught again. In that moment of stillness, she willed herself to listen. Distant sounds drifted through the trees, a flurry of laughter, mixed with the occasional cries of fear. Was it Clara? Samuel? Or were these just phantoms of her imagination, illusions conjured by hope? Taking a tentative step, the ground dropped slightly, an incline she hadn't noticed before. She descended, heart racing, desperate to uncover the truth. The laughter grew louder, more distinct, and reality flickered dimly. What if she had been wrong? What if they were safe, somewhere far from her panic? Then, as she reached the base of the hill, she spotted a small clearing ahead. Relief washed over her, but it was quickly overshadowed by dread. The laughter was gone, replaced by an eerie silence. Joanna edged cautiously into the clearing, scanning for movement. Just then, she caught sight of a figure small, scared, hiding behind a bush. Her breath hitched. That silhouette, it was Clara, her daughter. Clara. Joanna's voice broke the stillness, and she rushed forward. But before she could reach her, a figure emerged from behind the tree, a soldier, and not just any soldier. It was the one who had pointed the rifle at her earlier, the fear in his eyes replaced by cold determination. The blood rushed from Joanna's face, realizing the fight was not over. "What are you doing here?" he demanded, raising a hand as if to command her back. Clara shrank away, eyes wide with terror. Joanna's heart shattered at the sight, instinct kicking in. She needed to protect her child at all costs. "Stay back!" she shouted, summoning every ounce of courage she had left. But inside her mind, a single thought ignited a flicker of hope amidst chaos. Could she find a way to turn this confrontation into an opportunity? Everything was on the line. Would she stand and fight, or run toward her children? The soldier took a step forward, determined to keep her at bay. Joanna felt the walls close in. "Not again," she whispered, gripping despair lightly, ready to push forward. The moment of truth was near, and she had to act fast. What choice would she make? Would this be the end, or the spark that ignited a greater fight for her freedom? A deep breath rattled in Joanna's chest, mixing fear with a wild surge of adrenaline. The soldier's gaze was fierce, his posture rigid, a predator ready to strike. She had to think quickly. Every second felt like a lifetime, Clara's terrified expression fueling the fire inside her. "Let her go!" Joanna shouted, more fiercely than she felt. The soldier hesitated, perhaps surprised by her resolve. The faintest flicker of doubt crossed his face, but he quickly masked it. "You're in no position to make demands," he snapped, his voice cold. Behind the soldier, Clara's small frame trembled, her wide eyes darting between her mother and the threat looming before them. Joanna's heart broke, torn between the desire to protect Clara and the urge to flee if it meant saving her. She had to distract him, stall for time. "Please," she said, dropping her voice to a whisper, "I'm just looking for my son. He's lost and scared. I need to find him." For a brief moment, confusion flickered in the soldier's gaze. Joanna pressed on, her voice steady, holding on to the tiniest thread of hope. "You know what it's like to have family. Would you do this to someone else? To a mother?" His grip on the rifle loosened slightly, and Joanna seized the moment. "If you let us go, I promise you won't regret it. There's still time to do the right thing." But just as she hoped for his compassion to shine through, the soldier shook his head, steel returning to his eyes. "I can't," he stated, voice hardening. "You're a liability." With panic rising, Joanna felt desperation clawing at her insides. She shifted her weight, positioning herself closer to Clara. "You don't have to do this. I'm not your enemy. Stop." The soldier barked, stepping forward, his tone sharp. Clara flinched, and acknowledgement washed over Joanna. The soldier wasn't just following orders, he was caught in a struggle of his own. "Listen to me," Joanna began again, emotion bubbling to the surface. "This isn't just about me. This is about Clara. She's just a child. You still have a choice." Then something shifted in his expression. Not fear, but perhaps a flicker of humanity, a glimmer of understanding that tugged at his resolve. Joanna's heart raced as she sensed this crack in his armor. "Help us help her," she pleaded, each word heavy with urgency. There was a moment filled with silence, as if the entire forest held its breath, waiting. And then it happened. The soldier turned, looking deeper into the woods. Joanna's heart sank. Had she just lost her one chance? Then the distant noise reached her ears, a rustle, a gasp, and laughter. Another child? Clara's eyes widened at the sound, a mixture of fear and hope flooding them. "Clara!" Joanna cried, her heart leaping at the possibility. Is that Samuel? Before Clara could respond, the soldier closed the distance, his eyes racing back to her. I can't let her go. I will lose everything. There's still a way. You can find your way back, too. You're not just a soldier. As the tension stretched between them, Joanna recognized the truth: he carried the weight of the world on his shoulders. Maybe he was just a scared boy in a man's uniform. Time slowed, and Joanna readied herself for whatever came next. Would the soldier have a change of heart, or would he harden under the weight of fear and duty? With the laughter growing closer, she knew they were running out of time. The urgency clawed at her, leaving her breathless. Would this encounter change anything? Or were they all doomed to be trapped in their roles forever? Their fates hung precariously in the balance. Then a snap echoed through the trees. The soldier's gaze snapped to the sound, momentarily distracted. It was the opening Joanna needed. Would she make a break for it, or gamble everything on one last word? Please. She called out, heart pounding in her throat. There's a better way. What would happen next? Would the soldier finally see reason, or would they lose everything to the chaos around them? Joanna's heart thrummed violently in her chest, the chaos around her blurring into a haze. She locked eyes with Clara, who looked up at her mother, hope and fear intertwined like vines. The sound from the woods grew louder, an urgent reminder of the innocent laughter that brought both dread and possibility. The soldier stood frozen, his expression wavering between duty and an unfamiliar ache. Joanna could sense the turmoil twisting within him, and she knew this moment was fragile. You know there are other paths, she urged, her voice trembling but steady. You can choose to protect us. We can all go home. For another heartbeat, his gaze softened. But the moment slipped away, his resolve hardening once more. No. I can't risk it. The weight of his decision felt like a stone on Joanna's heart. Think of your family. She cried, feeling a tear slip down her cheek. They need you just as much as Clara needs me. We're all looking for hope. Suddenly, from the underbrush, a small figure burst through the trees, panting and wide-eyed. Samuel stood there, tousled hair glinting in the fading sunlight, mouth agape. Mama! He shouted, oblivious to danger. The soldier's head snapped toward the sound, eyes wide with shock. The small boy raced toward Clara, urgency in his step, arms reaching out. Clara's eyes lit up, and in that split second, everything hung in the balance: the soldier's fear, Joanna's desperation, and the innocence of the two children. Joanna! Samuel cried, his voice cutting through the tension like a blade. I found you. In that joyous yet precarious moment, the soldier faltered. His grip on his weapon slackened as confusion washed over him. Joanna knew she had to act. Sam, come here. Stay close. She called out, scrambling to her feet, pulling Clara tightly to her. Don't let him take us. Clara's voice quivered, laced with fear. Joanna tightened her embrace, steadying herself against the rush of adrenaline coursing through her. But the soldier's attention had shifted, caught between the innocence of a boy and the weight of his choices. Get back! He shouted, raising his rifle, the words filled with panic rather than aggression. A battle raged in his eyes, as if the part of him that longed to protect was at war with the soldier he had become. Please! Joanna implored. You're breaking apart a family. Look at them. The laughter of the children echoing in the serene woods felt haunting against the display of such dread. But for Joanna, the sound was a lifeline. Remember who you are. She shouted, willing him to find the humanity buried underneath the uniform. Everything I've done, he murmured, more to himself than anyone else. With shaky breaths, Joanna stepped closer, heart pounding. You are not just a soldier. You are a person, with your own family, your own heart. Don't sacrifice that for fear. Please. Samuel and Clara stood hand in hand, small pillars of courage in the face of looming darkness. Joanna reached for hope, fear battling every inch of her. Could this soldier feel the power of their unity? Could he escape the chains of obligation? As if torn between two worlds, the soldier's expression flickered once more. He seemed caught in the balance, a scale tipping toward either hope or despair. But just when it felt like a sliver of possibility might break through, another sound erupted from deeper within the woods, a shout, followed by hurried footsteps. The soldier's head whipped around again, the moment of potential slipping through their fingers like sand. "Out here!" A voice called, harsh and commanding. "Secure the area." Panic surged within Joanna. Whoever was coming would end this standoff. Would the soldier surrender to his orders or recognize their shared humanity? "Time is running out," she yelled. "Help us!" The laughter, the cries, the urgency, they all blended into a desperate plea for survival. Would this soldier find the courage to defy the machine of duty he had put on like armor? Or did the encroaching chaos seal their fates forever? Only then did Joanna realize she had never felt so small, standing between hope and impending despair. The question hung thick in the air: who would make the choice first? As the sound of more voices drew near, dread settled heavily. Would they all become just memories, washed away by the tide of fear? Or could someone still forge a way through this nightmarish reality? Joanna felt the weight of the moment pressing down on her. She couldn't let fear write the end of their story. The laughter of her children, like a sweet symphony, urged her to fight back. "Together. We stand together," she called out, locking eyes with the soldier, her voice steady with purpose. Clara and Samuel drew closer, instinctively reaching for one another, their small hands clasped in solidarity. That simple gesture ignited something within the soldier. Joanna could almost see the gears shifting in his mind. The power of family, of love, it was a force greater than any army. "Stop!" the soldier shouted, suddenly aware of the urgency around him. The sounds of more soldiers approached, their heavy footsteps thrumming against the ground like marching drums. Joanna could feel the shadow of dread creeping back, but she couldn't let that take hold. "Please," Joanna begged, stepping closer to him. "Help us find a way. You know this isn't right. Stand with us, not against us. You are more than what this war has made you." In that moment, the man's eyes flickered, caught between the decisions he had made and the humanity he longed to reclaim. For a heartbeat, time stood still, the world outside faded, narrowing to just him and Joanna, two souls entwined in a moment of clarity. Then, the shouts drew nearer, snapping the soldier back to reality. Panic washed over his features as he leveled his rifle once more. I can't let you go." Behind him, the trees rustled ominously, and Joanna's heartbeat quickened, urgency charging through her. "If you don't let us go, it will be your own heart that you sacrifice," she said, her voice a low but powerful challenge. "You could become part of a better story, a story that changes everything." In the fleeting moments of doubt, the soldier's posture softened. "I want to help," he confessed, but his insignia weighed heavy on him. "But if they see me, I'll be right here with you," Joanna interjected quickly, desperate. "Don't let fear blind you. We can find a way through this together. Trust your heart." The soldier hesitated, glancing back at the sounds of approaching chaos. "You don't understand what they'll do to me. They will do nothing worse than what you will bear by standing idle," Joanna shot back, stepping fully into the light as the laughter of her children surged through her mind, carrying her forward. "You know what's right. Fight for it with us." And then, in a decisive moment, the soldier's hand slowly lowered. Something in his expression shifted, a spark igniting in his watery eyes, brimming with the weight of a decision made. "Let us go," he said quietly, choosing to turn from blind loyalty to embrace a path of humanity. "Follow me," Joanna urged, grabbing Samuel and Clara's hands tightly as they hurried down the path. They raced together, weaving through the trees, fear still clinging to them like shadows. The soldier moved quickly alongside them, and for the first time, she saw him not simply as a soldier but as a person embracing bravery. They reached the edge of the woods, the laughter of the children guiding them onwards. In the distance loomed a clearing with makeshift tents dotting the landscape, drawing anxious breaths from Joanna. Hope flickered in her chest. What if it's too late? What if they are already gone? Samuel's voice shattered the fragile silence, eyes wide with worry. No. Joanna replied firmly, bending down to look him squarely in the eye. We are not too late. We will stand together, as a family. Hold tight. She squeezed his hand, feeling Clara press against her other side. The soldier nodded, lending his strength. We're all together now. As they emerged from the woods, they were met with a chaotic sight. Soldiers were scattered about, some fussing over maps, others preparing for the next battle. But then someone lifted their gaze, eyes landing on Joanna with shocking clarity. The surrounding air thickened, rippling with tension. Seize them! A voice shouted, breaking the stillness with the weight of authority just as everything spiraled into motion. Run! The soldier roared, instinctively. Pushing Joanna and the children forward into the fray. Together they dashed toward the tents, weaving past startled soldiers. Joanna's heart soared, one direction remained clean and pure, finding her children. Where are they? She shouted, desperate as she led her family toward the scattered clusters of terrified souls. Finally, they found a small tent filled with the sounds of cries and laughter, painting a picture of sadness and hope. Heaving breathlessly, Joanna peeked inside. And there they were. Samuel and Clara, huddled with other frightened children, their eyes wide with confusion. Mama! They shrieked, leaping to their feet. Joanna stumbled forward as if propelled by sheer love, wrapping her arms around both of her children in a protective embrace, pulling them close. I found you. I found you. She cried, tears streaming down her face. As they tumbled into her arms, laughter spilled out into the world around them, illuminating the bleakness with pure joy. Behind them, the soldier held his rifle still, eyes wide as he witnessed the unconditional embrace of love and family. Voices echoed from nearby, more soldiers approaching, but Joanna would not back down. We stay together now, she declared, uncurling herself from her children as she felt the undying fire of bravery push her forward. We are not just surviving, we are fighting for our lives and our family. Let us go. She shouted again, her heart pounding with an urgency that fed the hope in their chest. The soldier who had followed them hesitated, glancing between Joanna and the approaching men in uniform. You have to trust me, he said, steeling himself and rallying behind Joanna. Let us take them. With newfound courage, Joanna led the charge, hand in hand with her children, alongside the soldier transformed. They would no longer be victims, they would reclaim their lives and their story. As they broke through the barrier of confusion, shouting, freedom, into the open air, they felt the chains of fear clattering behind them. Together, they would forge a path forward, shielded by connection, sustained by love. They sprinted into the wild as the world shifted around them. The sound of laughter and distant gunfire faded into the background of their cries. Fear would not have the final say today because Joanna had made the choice to stand tall for family, and in doing so, she lit a flame of hope that would never extinguish. It was no longer just a fight for survival. It was a fight for tomorrow. Now was the moment to act. Subscribe immediately to our channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and show the world this story matters. Comment below your reactions and feelings about the ending. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Don't wait not even one more second to share this message of hope. True fans know the power of your support.